Hello, and welcome to the Between the Lines podcast. My name is Janine. I'm a clerk at the Winkler branch of South Central Regional Library.
And I'm Jess. I'm the branch administrator of the Winkler Library. So, in this podcast, what we do is, each book we do, we break it up into two parts. The first part, we read the first half of the book, judge the cover, discuss why we chose the book that we did, and any predictions we have for the next half of the book. And then the second part, we, of course, read the second half of the book and discuss how we liked it, if we thought that it changed too much, too little. So basically, our reasoning for doing this is, I don't know about you guys, I sometimes like the book a lot less by the time I finished it, as opposed to halfway through. Or you like the book a lot more. The ending makes a lot of difference in terms of your final impressions of the book. So we thought it'd be interesting to get our impressions halfway through. There will be spoilers. I would like to remind you that we are very opinionated, but all our opinions are just opinions. If you like the book and we don't like the book, totally fine. Vice versa. If we like the book and you think it's awful, by all means, comment, let us know. But it is all just opinion-based, and it's all good fun. And with that, we get into the book.
So, for today's book, we've chosen Frontlines by Michael Grant. World War II, 1942. A court decision makes women subject to the draft and eligible for service. The unproven American army is going up against the greatest fighting force ever assembled, the armed forces of Nazi Germany. 3 girls sign up to fight. Rio Richland, Frangie Marr, and Rainey Schulterman are average girls with dreams and aspirations at the start of their loves. Each has her own reasons for volunteering. Rio fights to honor her sister. Frangie needs money for her family. Rainey wants to kill Germans. For the first time, they leave behind their homes and families to go to war. These 3 daring young women will play their parts in the war to defeat evil and save the human race. As the fate of the world hangs in the balance, they will discover the roles that define them on the front lines. They will find the greatest war the world has ever known.
So, this is book 1 of a 3-part series. Book 1 is Frontlines, book 2 is Silver Stars, and book 3 is Purple Hearts. What do you think of the cover?
So, I ordered a copy of this book for myself, and it has a sort of interesting cover in that it looks like it's camo, like camouflage, but when you look closer, it's actually pictures of soldiers. Like one is waving a flag, there's one like soldiers lying on the ground and things like that, which I thought was really interesting. The cover of the book that we have in the library is a little bit nicer looking, a little more sleek, but I just thought that was really interesting. Cover.
Yeah. It's interesting. As cool as it is, I like how they incorporated the soldiers into the design. Not gonna lie, I like the cover that we have better. That one's probably UK cover, I think, is what you're...
I think so.
Sort of what you figured out?
Yeah.
So, the other cover is blue with a woman wearing a helmet, spotlights coming up from the bottom, and planes, which is quite a cohesive design.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the books of the series also kind of follow that same general style in terms of cover art, so I don't know, I haven't seen the other books of the camo cover,
mm-hmm.
or the other books in the series of the camo cover, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But, I don't know, I'm partial to this one.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. It is a little, when I first opened the package when the book came, it's used, and I was like, oh, this is so ugly. But once I figured out, like, I thought it was camo at first, and then I looked closer, and I was like, oh, I thought that was just kind of a neat idea, but...
It is one of those designs where you just kind of stare at it and go, huh? What?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's camo, and then, like, there's, like, dog tags that have the cover, or the title on them, and it's in bright orange, too, which sort of...
It's a bit jarring.
It is kind of, yeah.
That's the thing. I think that cover could have been greatly improved if they didn't use orange.
Yeah, that's probably part of what makes it ugly, is the orange doesn't really go, but anyway, yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah. Why do we choose this book?
Well, part of the reason we chose this book is because Remembrance Day is coming up,
mm-hmm.
and this is a book about World War II.
Yeah, it's World War II with a twist. Basically, it's alternative history.
Mm-hmm.
History, but they've switched one thing in it, essentially. So women are eligible for the draft, which affects attitudes, essentially. But they have kept everything else fairly historically accurate, hypothetically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sexism still exists, racism still exists. This is not, oh, women can fight now, and we're all happy, and we all go dancing into the sunset. It is actually... Basically, if you took the attitudes of the time and went, oh, by the way, women can fight now, there is still the stigma, there is still the barriers. Just because they can doesn't mean everybody thinks they should. So, I find that quite interesting, and I've read a fair amount of World War II books, movies, podcasts, facts, all that kind of thing. It covers it in a different way. That's the thing. I don't know about you, I didn't want to go, okay, so here's another book about somebody from World War II who had a terrible time of it because it's World War II.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like, I feel like there are times when the market is saturated with World War II books. And not that I'm saying that the history isn't important.
Oh, it is.
It's just, sometimes it's like, oh, another World War II book. And this puts a twist on it. And I like reading alternate histories. I find that really interesting. I like to imagine things happening differently, or like what would happen if this happened instead of this, or things like that. And so,
what if we just changed one thing about history?
Yeah.
And how would that affect everything else?
Exactly. And so one thing, before I started this book, I thought that all the soldiers were women. I'm not sure how I got that idea in my head, but that's what I was thinking. And so then I started reading. I was like, oh, okay. So these same issues still exist that exist today with the sexism and the racism and all of that stuff. And so that part I found really interesting as well. Yeah.
That's the thing that I like most about this book, is it doesn't shy away from it.
Yeah.
It's not a whitewashed, sanitized version
Mm-hmm.
of what if we actually let women fight in World War II.
Yeah.
No, it's quite gritty and honest, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. For a alternative history, it is as historically accurate as it can be. One of the things I found interesting was one of the girls, Frangie Marr. She was from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there's reference to the Tulsa Rice Riots that happened 20 years before, I think it was, roughly. And how that affected basically her childhood, her upbringing, the attitudes of people in the area, and then throwing in the women can fight now aspect of it, and how it kind of socially, how do I put this? There's still the social stigma about it. Say that 5 times fast. Irregardless, but the history of the race riots being incorporated, I found that very interesting.
Yeah. I also, one thing that I noted when I was reading, the 3 main characters, one is like white American female, one is African American, one of the main characters, and the other one is Jewish. So you're also getting those 3 different perspectives based on how they have grown up and things. So one of the Jewish, I think that's Rainey.
Rainey's Jewish.
She has family that's still in Poland, and they haven't heard from them. And so, but they've been hearing about what's been happening over there. And so she, of course, is like, I'm a Jewish woman. I'm going to go fight Hitler, And then how the African American people are treated, and they get a separate training camp from the white people.
That's the thing. Frangie is a black character. That's the thing I found interesting that I wasn't totally expecting or didn't really think of before I started the book, was women can fight, and that's all fine, but it is still segregated troops. Mm-hmm. Because the troops weren't desegregated until, I think it's 1945, something along those lines. It was after World War II, I believe, where the troops were desegregated. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about that before I started the book, which I don't know, I found it interesting.
Yeah.
That we'll let women fight alongside us. I mean, as well we should, we're perfectly capable. But we won't let black people fight alongside us.
Yeah.
That's the thing where I'm going,
yes.
Really?
Yeah, and not just black women, but also black men.
Mm-hmm.
They were also segregated.
Yeah, the black troops were completely segregated from everybody else.
For me, I enjoyed that fact of hearing the different cultural perspectives and racial perspectives. Mm-hmm. That probably is how it would have been if women were allowed to fight, right? And yeah, I just kind of like that they all come from different backgrounds. They're not just all the same.
Different backgrounds in different areas. Like, Rio's from California, Frangie's from Oklahoma, and Rainey's from New York. So, it's all very different life experiences. Mm-hmm. And I am looking forward to seeing how that affects their outlook and coping with the war. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology.
Yeah.
But seeing how people from different backgrounds, different cultures handle one of the most brutal conflicts of history is something I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah. And I also thought it was interesting that the author, Michael Grant, used the language that they would have used at the time, like Jap and Negra, and he kept it true to the time. So I think that makes it feel more realistic.
It's one of those things where I always kind of go, I'm not entirely sure where I fall on this debate. That is the attitude, that is the terminology in the social context of the time. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. We are not supporting it.
But I still think we can learn from that.
It all depends on how each individual book handles it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the general plot, story? How did you like the book? Do you like the book? Do you hate the book?
I definitely don't hate it. I'm very intrigued by it. I do like it. There were times when I felt like it was a little bit slow.
It is slow to start, definitely. Yeah. Like, we're halfway through the book. I don't recall off the top of my head how many pages it is. We're halfway through a relatively thick book, and they just finished basic training. Yeah,
so I'm wondering if we're actually going to see any action in this book, or like if they're actually going to make it to war, or if it's just training that's happening.
My suspicion is that it'll probably be they make it to the front or where they're at, and they'll have gone through the first battle.
Okay.
That's my suspicion. But that's the thing, too. These characters, Rio is... they just got out of basic, so they're getting their assignments. And to be fair, these guys are not all in the same camp and that kind of thing. The story bounces around a bit. Rio's a rifleman, Frangie's medic, and Rainey is in intelligence. So I suspect that Rio and Frangie will probably see the first battle. I'm not entirely sure about Rainey and how her story's going to go, because it is quite different than the other two.
Yeah, but her assignment was changing towards the end of the first half as well, correct?
Yeah, she got assigned to... Well, they didn't actually say it, somewhere vaguely.
Yeah.
It's overseas anyway, as opposed to staying at home.
Yeah.
So, she'll probably see some action at some point, but the kind of action, like, we're possibly not talking a large-scale battle. It's more of a... I don't know.
Yeah.
First espionage mission. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely, though, like, it's not a hard book to read.
No.
Just, there was points where I was like, okay, that's too much. Let's keep going.
Thing is, I kind of enjoyed that he took it quite slow.
Yeah.
Because it basically starts off with the girls are introduced at their regular home life.
Yeah.
And they're sort of thinking about signing up. Like, it's pretty... I think it's going to be interesting over the course of the entire series to see how the girls started and kind of their naivete about going to war and signing up and that kind of thing, to the end where they are presumably all still alive and battle-hardened soldiers.
Let's hope.
Like, I think as a general overarching story of the series, it is important that he takes it fairly slow in the beginning to introduce these characters and really let you get a feel for them, so you can you have a baseline for how much they've changed compared to at the end.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be one of the more interesting parts of it. Because the thing is, there's so many so many World War II books where it's like, I want to go to war. Okay, bye! And from deciding to go to war to being on the front lines is like a 1 or 2 chapter process.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
It's very glossed over. It's very... And we're going to skip through the boring basic training parts.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate.
No, I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree. It's just, as a reader, and maybe because I was reading it at nighttime and I was tired, and I was like, okay, let's keep going. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens next, and see where these girls are headed.
Well, that's the thing. They're all, I think with the exception of Rainey, they're all finished basic training, and Rio and Frangie are at home on leave, right? Before they go to their assignments and get shipped out.
Yeah.
So we're very much at the halfway point of the book in many, many ways.
Yes.
Rainey, I don't think she finished intelligence school. I forget what it's called. But she did just get her first assignment, basically going, do you want to stay here and basically work behind a desk, or do you want to get where the action is and actually make a difference?
And I think if I remember correctly, Rainey had already been enrolled or enlisted at the beginning of the book. Because I feel like at the beginning she was home on a leave as well from something. Yes,
you're right. Rainey, with Rio and Frangie, we meet them before they sign up, before they do anything. Mm-hmm. And we kind of follow them through basic. Whereas Rainey, she's
already done her basic training, I think.
She's done her basic and on leave when we meet her the first time.
Yeah.
And she's then going to Army Intelligence School.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we meet her a little bit later, but to be honest, do we need to go through basic training 3 times? Yeah. Like, we've got Frangie's point of view, and that's important because in its segregated army, the soldiers and non-commissioned officers are black. Any officers are white.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting seeing going through basic training how their officers treat them differently.
Yes.
Compared to Rio.
Yes. And it's interesting also because towards the end of their training, they actually do like a mock battle between the black soldiers and the white soldiers, which I thought was sort of interesting as well, to kind of pit them against each other.
Yeah, because the camps are basically right across the river from each other.
Yeah,
so.
Just one is a little nicer than the other.
Yeah, see. So, but yeah, it's... There's not a whole ton of action in the first half.
No.
Which I'm kind of okay with. I do hope there's more action in the second half,
yes.
Because, well, the first half of the book was good, and I enjoyed it. If that was the entire book, I would be rather disappointed.
Yeah, I hope
because it's building up to something.
Yeah.
And if that turns out to just kind of fizzle, I prefer it didn't fizzle.
Yeah. So. I'm really hoping the pace picks up in the second half of the book. Even just slightly. It doesn't have to be a ton, but...
I suspect it will.
Yeah.
They're shipping out now, so... Something has to happen. There's a war going on.
Yes.
So... Yeah, any predictions or anything for the next half, or closing comments?
I don't know if I have any predictions.
I predict they'll go to war.
Yeah. I hope that none of them die, because I hate that when there's a main character that they kill off. It just...
I still haven't recovered from Cat and Aurora Rising.
I know. I read the second book now, and I just... no. So, yeah, that's my hope, that they all survive the first book.
They are all in book 2 and book 3.
Okay.
They're mentioned on the back cover of the summaries or something along those lines.
Okay.
So I assume that they do.
Yes.
But sometimes authors are sneaky.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I hope That is interesting. Part of me hopes it's terrible so I don't feel the need to read books 2 and 3, because I have enough on my to-be-read pile.
I have a feeling that's not going to be the case.
I know. I know I'm going to want to read them, but...
What a horrible thing, reading good books that you want to read more of.
I know, it's not a bad problem. It's just, there's not enough time in the day for all the books. But, yeah, no, I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens next, and also how they fit in to the fighting, and how the male soldiers will treat them on the front lines, and those types of things. Just seeing, like, what it could be like to have women fighting in World War II.
Well, one of the things, too, is Rio, Frangie, and Rainey haven't all met each other. Like,
right.
We're following along with their stories, but Rio and Frangie met when there was the mock battle between the white camp and the black camp. But they met for, like, 5 minutes while they were up a tree.
Yeah.
Literally. Neither of them have met Rainey. So I'm kind of curious, because I'm assuming with these 3 characters, if you're an author, you pick 3 that will eventually tie together. I am interested to see how he does that, and what situation brings, well, a rifleman and a medic. You can understand how those go together.
Yes.
That's a pretty easy connection to make. But where Rainey fits in.
Yeah.
That I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, because at some point they all have to intersect their stories, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So
it'd be a little bit weird if they were separate the entire way through, and at the end they're just like, oh, hi. But yeah, then we will join you again next time after we've read the second half, where hopefully we see some action and they go to war, which sounds slightly gruesome. But we'll see what happens.
And we're back with part 2 of Front Lines. So, first off, I'd like to say, if I didn't think war was horrible before, I really do now. And I never didn't think that war was horrible. Does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense.
That sort of makes sense. You always thought the war was horrible.
I knew it was horrible. But
yes.
This book, the author even says, there's an author's note at the end, where he even talks about how he doesn't want to, like, sugarcoat it, and, like, we need to talk about war like it really is, right? Mm-hmm. And, yeah, there was some parts where I was a little grossed out, if we're being totally honest. And, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this book. I do want to read the rest of the series at some point, but, yeah, war is awful.
No, that's the thing. Like, with this one, the first half of the book was basic training, signing up, kind of making them into soldiers, but they're not actually soldiers yet. Mm-hmm. The second half is first combat. So first skirmish, I'm not going to say major battle. It wasn't a major battle. But first kind of full-scale battle. And there's no sugarcoating. Like, it's war. It's not... I didn't find it gratuitously gory. Like, there's some where it's all blood sprays and hacked off limbs, and it's unnecessarily so. It reads like zombie fiction rather than war and how it actually is. This read like war.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful. It's bloody. It's messy. It's awful.
Yeah.
But there's not that glorification of violence that you sometimes find in war books that are more for the shock value than anything else.
Mm-hmm. No, it's more of this is the fact. This is, how it really is. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to sensationalize it. We're just going to tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And, yeah. As I know you don't get grossed out as easily as I do. There are some times where I was pretty grossed out.
I never hit that stage, but I've also read a lot of war books.
Not even with the intestines?
No.
Jess.
Have you seen Saving Private Ryan?
A long time ago.
Basically the same thing, but you were actually seeing it.
I don't remember. I have blocked that from my memory, obviously, because probably I had my eyes closed also.
Yeah. The thing that got me is, and this is one of those things that it's obvious when you think about it for 3 seconds, but seems to be left out of a lot of war books. When there was the barrage of artillery, both incoming and outgoing, the fact that they basically couldn't hear each other and were deaf and their ears ringing and stuff like that, oftentimes that doesn't actually get put in.
No.
Which makes no sense when you think about it, because these are freaking howitzers.
Yeah.
They're not quiet.
Yeah.
War is not a quiet thing. And, of course, it's going to affect your hearing and how you communicate with everybody around you. I think it was Frangie that was in the middle of the artillery barrage when, like, she started patching guys up and that kind of thing and trying to communicate with them about where they're hurt, because sometimes it's not immediately obvious, without being able to hear anything. I found that interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's not something you ever really think about, because it's not how it's portrayed, usually.
Yeah, no.
So, I liked how he wrote about it, like, in a matter-of-fact way. Did I enjoy reading it all the time? No. But yeah, like...
See, that's the thing with this one. There were at times where I'm going, this is quite, like, technical. It's the makes and models of guns. It's the technical aspect of war that was quite important.
Yeah.
But again, does often get left out.
Yep.
Because you can generally, I don't want to say you can tell who's done their research and who hasn't, because sometimes it's the focus of research is different. But the ones where they're going, no, this was a specific rifle that was used because this other one had a tendency to jam up and that kind of thing. And I don't know. I frankly find the technical aspects of war, especially World War II, fascinating.
Yeah.
Because we started off with biplanes. We had rocket-powered planes by the end of it. Like, the technical advancements were just mental. So I kind of nerd out about that oftentimes.
See, and that's interesting that you say that, because I struggled with the second half because of that.
Okay.
And, like, all the strategies and the battles and, like, all of that stuff, sometimes I got lost in all of the language and, like, trying to figure out, okay, what is actually happening? And then there were so many names and, like, new characters came up. And I just, like, sometimes I had a little bit of trouble following along with what was going on.
See, I found it easier with the second half.
See?
It's like the first half, I'm like, I don't remember who all these guys are. But with the second half, I don't know if it's because the characters were developed more or what. I mean, it was 2 weeks between when I read the first half and read the second half. So, hypothetically more familiar with characters.
Yeah.
But I found it easier to follow in the second half because, this is going to sound weird, in the first half, oftentimes they were all in a group. And that's how they were conversing, so I couldn't place them in my head where they were within the group.
Okay.
Whereas, when it comes to the battles, where each person is located is very important, so I was better able to map it out in my head.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, but so I was able to kind of follow everybody a little bit better, because, like, okay, well, you know, Jack's in the rear, now he's, you know, going to the front. It made sense in my head.
Yeah. See, my brain doesn't totally work that way, so... Okay. I had a little bit of trouble following some of those things, but I still got the gist of the story. So yeah. But I did enjoy the symbolic barricade.
Yes, the Frenchman.
The Frenchman with his symbolic barricade. I was like, that's good. A little comic.
It says barricade on it.
Yeah, a little comic relief there in the middle, which I thought was really good. But I mean, this just puts it all out there about war, you know?
It does.
Like, no holds barred. And
that's the thing, too, I found interesting. It's real battles.
Yeah.
It's real operations. Not real people, but, like the French soldier, for example, that was in a situation that actually took place.
Yeah.
It was an actual event that he managed to incorporate into the book. Like, he has done his research. Yep. He knows He knows the areas and the battles and stuff like that. And despite the fact it's alternative history and women are fighting, he hasn't changed the outcomes of the battles. Like, it would be very easy to go, oh, well, if women can fight, then we've all of a sudden got, 500,000 more troops available, so the battles become pitched in a different manner and different outcomes. He hasn't done that.
No.
He's gone with, no, this is it. It's just some of them are women now.
Yep. So. And it's not, like, the women don't come in and are, like, big superheroes and save the day and whatever. Like, they're still just regular women, and they're still treated like women would be treated. Like, they're not fully accepted.
They're not fully accepted, no, but that's the thing I found interesting, too, and I keep saying these are the things I found interesting. In the first half, there was kind of a big divide in, or I shouldn't say divide, the women were treated more like women, as weird as it sounds. In the second half, they were treated like soldiers.
Yeah. Like,
it still came up that they were women, and there's still guys going, what the heck are you doing here? But when the bullets started flying, it didn't matter. It's, can you pick up your gun and fight or can't you?
Right. But they still, I feel like, still had to work harder to prove themselves and to prove themselves capable.
To a point, yeah. Like, I think it kind of depended on the character a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
I felt like Rio kind of not so much.
Yeah,
because she was a sharpshooter, so she's got confirmed kills already where everybody else is going, I lost my gun.
Yes.
Whereas, yeah, Frangie and Rainey, they had to work a little bit more to prove themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Frangie also has the added
difficulty.
I don't know. She's also black, right?
Yeah,
so there's that too. So she's got kind of two strikes, for lack of a better word, against her.
Well, she was captured by the Germans.
Yep.
And, I mean, they historically, the Nazis weren't super thrilled about anybody slightly different, and she's women and she's black and captured by the Germans.
Yeah.
It could have gone a hell of a lot worse than it did.
That's true. She did manage to escape.
But the characters have all met each other now.
I was wondering about that as I was reading. Like, are these characters going to meet? Are they just going to have separate stories throughout the series? But they have come together now at one point, and
yeah, it's a really good book. I have read the other two books. Also excellent. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah.
And they basically continue bumping into each other.
Okay.
Like, I think Frangie and Rio are currently in the same unit.
Yes.
And they kind of get attached to each other's units every once in a while.
Okay.
And kind of... They basically just keep bumping into each other. That's the easiest way to put it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a little annoyed that I have to read the rest of this series now, because I don't have time to read another series.
Yes, but it's really, really good.
I know. We did Aurora Rising, and now I have to read that series.
We need to just do standalone so we don't commit to something.
So I don't have to keep reading all these series. I don't have time for that.
But it is, like, it's excellent. And
yeah,
honestly, I know it's YA, but it does not feel like a YA book.
No.
Like,
but it's also not, like, despite some of the goriness, or, like, it's not a hard book to read.
No, that's the thing. Like, it's not difficult to get into. Yes, there's technical things, and for me that helps, and for you that hurts. But it's nothing excessive.
No.
Like it's not off-putting. It's just a quirk.
Yeah. Like, I didn't get bogged down in the technical details. I was still able to read it. I was maybe a little confused at sometimes about how everything was working with everybody, where everybody was going and what they were doing. And maybe because I don't understand military stuff. Like, that's not something... Like, I've read a lot of World War II books, but not like...
But not necessarily getting into the strategy of it. And see, that's the thing, where I tend to read more than ones that are strategy-based.
Yeah.
So,
but it wasn't bad enough to stop me from reading or to say, this book sucks, I can't read it, it's so boring, it's so whatever, I'm so confused.
Talking about flanking maneuvers and move on.
Yeah. No, it was, I still, wanted to finish. I wanted to know what was going to happen, and...
he strikes that nice balance between the emotional character development and the technical aspects of war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well written, I think. And
I will say, yes, it's YA, and yes, the three main characters are women, but this would be fascinating for a guy to read as well. I know that sometimes, especially with YA books, it's very, this is a girl's book and this is a boy's book.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say anybody would find this interesting.
I think so. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. There any surprises or twists that you came across?
I mean, I think in war there's always surprises, but not I was shocked in reading oh my goodness, no.
There wasn't really any plot twists or anything. It was essentially their first battles and their first losses and their first taste of war, essentially.
Yeah. I mean...
So there wasn't any really big...
The landmine was a bit of a shock. But...
I wasn't shocked by that at all.
No.
If you got a bunch of soldiers marching from point A to point B, easiest way to add some kind of twist or plot or interest to the story is landmines or strafing runs.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's
no.
words.
I just thought it was interesting how they're as they were walking, they started getting further and further back because their commander, whatever, was trying to he obviously knew, right? If something happens, the Jeep's gonna hit it first, so let's go a little further back so we can keep ourselves safe, right? Which I thought was clever.
Well, that's the thing. How do I put this? One of the things that the author does is he puts women in war, but he does not put them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Lieutenant... I don't know. There's a female lieutenant. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. Yes, she's a lieutenant, but by no means is she infallible.
No.
In fact, she's quite fallible.
She's a bit of a jerk.
She's a jerk. But that is fairly accurate for a lot of lieutenants.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
A lot of times, irregardless of men or women, you get that, I'm a lieutenant now.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of power. I think I can make decisions. I don't necessarily have experience to back that up. Mm-hmm. I'm not listening to what the sergeants say, despite the fact I should listen to what the sergeants say. And you end up alienating the people you're supposed to be leading. And, I mean, that's essentially what she did, and that is part of the reason, too, why the Sarge is kind of going, no, we're just going to wander back here a little bit, because essentially they were using the lieutenant in her Jeep as a minesweeper.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah. But yeah, like you
say...
But
the thing is, you couldn't have told the lieutenant any different.
No.
He could have told her and she would have not listened to him anyway.
No, she was determined to ride in that Jeep, and...
Exactly.
Nobody was stopping her, so... No. But yeah, like you say, the girls don't come in and save the day.
No.
They're just, like, the guys, we're soldiers. We're all in this together.
They're not portrayed as weaker, but they're not portrayed as some superhuman paragon of virtue that will save the world.
Yeah. And, but definitely still treated like women.
Yep.
A lot of the men aren't happy that they're there.
No, there's a interesting array of, I don't want to say chat-up lines when they're on the troop ship crossing over, but there's some where I'm going, my, you have used your imagination with that one, haven't you?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Overall, though,
10 out of 10 would read again?
Would definitely recommend.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably be checking out book 2 today, if it's in. So,
I think I saw it in today.
I don't have enough books to read at home.
Oh, no. You can never have too many.
Never enough.
Do you have any fun facts for us?
I do. So I went on to Michael Grant's website, and I found some interesting things. He sounds like an interesting guy. So this is from Michael Grant's website. Right now, somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, Michael is listening to the murderous call of seagulls and staring dreamily at his charming view of Alcatraz, imagining fresh ways of terrifying his readers. And he is known as, or I'm not sure if he's self-proclaimed, by his own admission, he is the evil genius of young adult fiction, and he sets out to scare his readers. And one of his biggest fans is actually Stephen King. So, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Michael Grant is married to Catherine Applegate, who is also an author of junior fiction. One of her probably more popular books is The One and Only Ivan, which is my daughter's favorite, one of my daughter's favorites. So they moved in together after knowing each other for less than 24 hours.
Oh my word.
Yeah. And they ran a cleaning company when they were working on their first book. So before they were famous authors, they ran a cleaning company together.
Am I suspicious? I'm suspicious of people that are work a cleaning company with possibly large amounts of bleach and dissolving chemicals, but then also try to scare their readers with horror.
You're skeptical, are you?
They ran a cleaning company.
Nobody could see your air quotes.
He ran an air quote cleaning company.
And then finally, Michael has written around 150 books as himself with Catherine under pseudonyms and as a ghostwriter. So, yeah, so they're not all under his own name, but 150 books, that's a lot.
I need to read more of his. This is the only series of his that I've read so far. And it's one of those things where I keep going, I need to find the other ones. And then I forget.
Is this the only series that we have in the library?
No, we also have, what is it? Hang on, I've got his book up here. I think it's the series is just called Gone.
Okay.
But it's like dystopic fiction.
Okay.
Titles are Gone, Hunger, Lies, Plague, Fear, and Light. So I'm sure it's all rainbows and kittens.
Sounds like. But yeah, those some interesting factoids about Michael Grant. Sounds like an interesting guy.
What I found funny is I read the author's note at the end. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I'm to be found on Twitter at Michael Grant BKS. Questions of legal rights and permission should be directed at Steve Shepard at Cohen Debates, Abrams and Shepard. But please don't send him fan mail. He's a lawyer and he'll charge me to read it.
Yes. Yeah, I like that too. But yeah, I did found the author's note really interesting as well. He kind of explains some of the background and yeah.
Yeah. He kind of clarifies a little bit what in the book was true facts and what was stuff that he made up to kind of make the book work.
Yep.
So. The Battle of Kesrine Pass, real. Tulsa, real. New York City, I'm pretty sure that exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, using the luxury liner, the Queen Mary, as a troop ship is interesting.
Mm-hmm. But also true, right? That actually happened.
Yeah, it did.
So, it also says...
Britannica, the Titanic sister ship, was used as a hospital ship. Often the liners get repurposed in war.
Mm.
I can't imagine a war now with cruise ships. They're going yep, okay.
Here's your Disney cruise ship.
Here's your Disney cruise ship taking you away to war.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be an awful way to go. Going to war with the incessant sounds of Mickey Mouse. Ugh. The horror. I think war might be a vacation after that. I don't like Disney, can you tell?
Yeah. We don't agree on that either. Mm. So, this is interesting. I just was looking at the bibliography, and he writes, "This is very much a partial bibliography. A lot of my sources were online. I have only to wonder, how do you fire a bazooka? And 10 seconds later, I'll be watching the official World War II era army training film. How great is that?" So, yeah.
It is kind of concerning how easy it is to find that stuff on the internet.
That's right, Nicole. But yeah, so he's got a fairly long bibliography at the end too. So yeah, he's definitely done his research. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. closing thoughts other than everybody should definitely read this book? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think everybody should read this book. It's fantastic.
Yes, Janine, say what I tell you to.
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely go read it. It's an interesting book, both from a fiction perspective of it's a good story and from a historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first book kind of takes place a little bit in North Africa,
Mm-hmm.
which is a front not often explored.
No, that's the other thing. That is the other thing I was thinking, is that you don't hear about the African part of the war too much.
No.
So I also did like that, because that's...
Tends to be forgotten for it.
Yep, I usually don't even think about it as part of World War II, so... Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, everybody go check out the book now. And, yeah, we'll see you on the next page.
See ya.
Bye.